One of the biggest differences between the OCG and Master Duel formats versus the TCG is the presence of Maxx C. The TCG banned Maxx C back in 2018, but it's unlimited in both the OCG and Master Duel, which drastically changes not only duels and deck building, but also the ban list philosophies between these formats. And I'm not here today to debate whether or not Maxx C is fair or unfair. I'm sure if you've played Master Duel at all, then you probably already have your own opinion about that, but they recently revealed a new hand trap in the upcoming Infinite Forbidden set that is basically Maxx C 2.0. When Maxx C was released almost 15 years ago, Yu-Gi-Oh! Looked a lot different, and that's probably why it has no restrictions on it. This new card, though, changes the Maxx C formula in a few key ways. It's possible that it won't see play in the OCG at all because they already have Maxx C, but in the TCG, I feel like it has a lot of potential. Multchummy Purulia is a level 4 water aqua monster with 100 attack and 600 defense. Its effect might read a little bit weird because it is a direct OCG translation, but here's what it does. During the turn you activate this card's effect, you can only activate one Mulcharmy monster effect, not counting this card's. At the moment, this is the only Mulcharmy monster, but this could be a new line of hand traps, kind of similar to the Ghost Girl hand traps, but actually part of an archetype. If you control no cards, quick effect, you can discard this card to apply these effects for the rest of this turn. Each time your opponent normal or special summons a monster from the hand, immediately draw one card. During the end phase, if the number of cards in your hand is more than the sum of cards your opponent controls plus 6, shuffle random cards from your hand into the deck until equal to that sum. There is a lot to unpack about this monster, but I think the end phase part is the most confusing, so here's how it works. Basically, if your opponent ends on 1 card, you'll have to shuffle back until you have 7 cards left in hand. If they end on 2 cards, you'll have to go down to 8 in hand. If they end on 3 cards, you'll have to go down to 9 cards in hand. I think you guys probably get the idea. I think that this is a very interesting take on the Maxx C draw effect. It means while your opponent is popping off, you have opportunities to draw into hand traps to hopefully stop their combo, but if you draw too many cards, you'll have to randomly shuffle back until you and your opponent are on more even footing. I think this is a pretty cool way to restrict this because it means if your opponent ends on a huge board, you get to keep a lot of cards to try and break that board, but unlike Maxx C, if your opponent does have to give you a couple draws but doesn't end on a crazy board, you don't get to keep all of those extra cards. Now that we know how the end phase effect works, let's talk about how you draw cards. Maxx C gives you a draw whenever your opponent special summons from anywhere. It doesn't care if it's from the deck, extra deck, graveyard, or hand, but this one only gives you draws if they're summoning monsters exactly from their hand. It does get the added benefit that it works not only on special summons, but normal summons as well. With Maxx C, you often wait until your opponent activates a special summon effect so that you can guarantee a draw, but with this one, when you go second, you might just want to immediately shotgun it to get that draw off of your opponent's normal summon. The fact that it works on normal summons as well as special summons means that this card is better than Maxx C in certain matchups. If your opponent's playing a deck like Fluander Rees, for example, they're going to normal summon a lot, which gives you a bunch of draws where Maxx C would just be a dead card in that matchup. It's also good against cards that give you extra normal summons like the Rescue Ace Field Spell or Sakitama, and it's alright against stun decks where your opponent is probably only normal summoning and then setting a bunch of back row. Of course, compared to Maxx C, you probably aren't going to draw nearly as many cards, especially because it doesn't get you draws off of extra deck summons. However, when you look at the top decks in the current format, there are actually a number of monsters that would special summon from the hand. Against the Snake Eyes cards, for example, Snake Eyes Poplar is pretty much guaranteed to special summon itself from your opponent's hand, and if your opponent happens to draw Wanted or Diabellstar, that's one more draw as well. Not to mention you'll also get a draw on your opponent's normal summon, which means you're kind of guaranteed to get 2 to 3 draws against Snake Eyes. And that's pretty relevant because it gives you even more opportunities to draw hand traps to potentially stop their combo. The Fire King Snake Eye deck will give you draws with the regular Snake Eyes combo, but also with Ponix and Kieran. Rescue Ace gets pretty wrecked by this card. I mentioned Rescue Ace HQ earlier, but there are tons of others. Normally they play Snake Eyes, so you are still looking at Diabellstar and Poplar being included, but beyond that, there's Rescue Ace Turbulence Preventer and even potentially Fire Engine. Against Kashtira, you'll not only get draws when your opponent special summons cards like Unicorn or Fenrir from their hand, but you'll also get a draw when they use Kashtira Birth to normal summon without tributing. This card is killer against Monadium. Pretty much every single monster in that deck has the ability to special summon itself from the hand, so by using this, they're either going to have to completely stop their combo or give you a ridiculous amount of draws. Against Tearlaments, you get some pretty easy draws. Against Tearlaments Tearlament's Sheeran and Tearlament's Kashtira, and then once again, of course, their regular normal summon. Branded can also get you some extra draws when they summon Blazing Cartesia or Bystials. Unchained should get you 2 to 3 draws on average between their normal summon Aruha and Shavara, and if Sprite is popular, you'll get draws from all of their free special summons. It's also decent against the upcoming Tenpai Dragon deck that's going to be released in the TCG pretty soon. That deck does play a monster that special summons itself from the hand, so this could be an okay counter. As you can see, this card is very good against a lot of popular strategies in the format, but it's also going to be good against plenty of rogue decks as well. But one of the things that will keep it from being overpowered and possibly keep it from being overplayed is that you have to control no cards to activate it. Because of this, I think it's unlikely that Purulia will see main deck play. I think it is almost exclusively a side deck card, except in maybe dedicated going second strategies. This is a restriction we've seen before on hand traps like no material, and I think right here it works great. One of the most frustrating situations with Maxx C is when your opponent full combos and then also has Maxx C in their hand. It's already tough to break a board when going second, but if your opponent is also getting a free draw every time you special summon, it makes it even worse. The draws either could get them hand traps to stop you from breaking their board, or if you can't OTK, the new cards could help them come back. I think compared to Maxx C, this card's design is a lot more balanced. It's kind of like Maxx C plus Phantasme, but the Phantasme effect is a bit more random, and that's okay because Maxx C is one of the most powerful cards in the game, and it's played at 3 copies in pretty much every single OCG and Master Duel deck. That being said, I wonder when we'll get more Mulchummy monsters. It seems like it could be a once per set thing, kind of like they did with the Ghost Girls back in the day. I can see a world where these are all like Maxx C type effects for different areas. Maybe the next one will only be the extra deck, which could be better against certain strategies. Now, does this card's reveal mean that they're going to ban Maxx C in the OCG and the Master Duel formats? Probably not, but I think in the TCG specifically, this card is really cool, and I'm excited to see what decks people play it in. It'll probably be a format dependent card, but if it was released in the TCG right now, I think that people would actually try it out. It seems like it's designed to be a counter to a lot of the popular strategies right now, but in a more balanced way than Maxx C. Let me know what you guys think about this card. I'm really curious to know how people feel about it, and if you would play it right now if it was released in the TCG. Personally, I think I would side deck it. I think it's very good against a lot of the top decks, namely Snake Eyes, but I am interested to know what you guys think about it. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see more OCG card discussions on this channel. I know from Infinite Forbidden, I talked about the Exodia cards that were revealed about a month ago, and I do enjoy talking about early reveals, especially from core sets, because we know when we'll get them in the TCG. Infinite Forbidden releases in late July for the TCG, so it will be a few months before we see this card, but I think even by that time, it'll still be in discussion. Thank you so much for watching today's video though. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.